Welcome, my name is Chris Davidson, and it's great to have you on the Merkinch YouTube channel. On this channel over the coming weeks, we're going to look and continue to look at the book of Ruth as a series we started here at the Merkinch during community nights, but because of lockdown, we can't continue to meet together that way, so this is just a way for us to keep tracking together with this book. So we just thank you that you're here, but also if you want to catch up with us, the previous video is up here in this corner, so if you want to click on that, that'll take you there, and then if you have time, you can jump back and join us here. And this week together, we're going to read the first 5 verses of Ruth. So one of the team here in the Merkinch is going to read that for you. That is Christy, and through the power of technology, we should be able to cut to her.
Ruth 1, verses 1 through 5. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land, and a man of Bethlehem in Judah went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem in Judah. They went into the country of Moab and remained there. But Elimelech, the husband of Naomi, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. These took Moabite wives. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. They lived there about 10 years, and both Mahlon and Chilion died, so that the woman was left without her 2 sons and her husband.
As you can tell straight away in this passage, the writer of the book of Ruth wants to frame our understanding of the whole book in 2 ways. The first way is he tells us that it is written during the time when the judges ruled. Now, last week we talked a bit more in depth about that, but what we can tell you again here today is this was a really dark time in Israel's history, where a lot of evil was being done, where people were doing what they thought was right under their own eyes, and there was a lot of spiritual confusion throughout the community of Israel. So that's the historical context for the book of Ruth here, but the writer then quickly brings our eyes down from almost the nation to a small town called Bethlehem, and we're told that there's a famine in the land. Now, for us here in the ferry in Scotland today, a true famine is rare. I've probably never experienced one in my lifetime. The closest thing, and it pales in comparison to a famine, is, when in the summer when the temperature gets above 16 degrees and we get our paddling pools out and are drinking Coke floats, the government asks us not to use our garden hoses. That's about as big as the restrictions get, but a famine in the ancient Near East in this time for Ruth would have been disastrous. They really did have the challenge of survival. It would bring a lot of fear, a lot of instability. People would be talking about it, and it would be on the social mind of that community. Not unlike our COVID virus right now, where everyone seems to be talking about it. There is that sense of communal fear and instability. What is going to happen? And that was kind of the current in Bethlehem at this time. A lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of wondering if people were going to make it through this. And then the writer introduces us to one man called Elimelech. And Elimelech is married to Naomi and has 2 sons. And we're told that Elimelech is making a very important decision. He's choosing to leave his hometown of Bethlehem to move to another country called Moab. Now, we need to understand that this is a huge decision. Or let's put it a bit more like this. It's like think of the most Scottish person you know, like, I'll make him up, Hamish McHammy from Wick, Thurso, or Lewis or Skye, who owns a croft, plays the bagpipes, really engaged in his community. His family have lived there for years. And then suddenly he chooses to sell up and move to London. And he becomes a Londoner. To the community that's left there, that would be shocking. And that's what we have here, that Elimelech, in one way, his decision is shocking because he's leaving his family, his wider family, he's leaving his cultural identity. And in some way, he is distancing himself from his religious convictions. For Moab was not a friendly country to the story of God, to the proclamation of who God is. In fact, this country was very hostile in its history to Israel. They were a political rival, they were a warring country. So the move might have a good intention, but actually where he's choosing to move to would have been mind-boggling to his community. Elimelech is choosing to go to a place of great evil for his people, a place of pain and a place of constant warring. We're not told how Elimelech reasoned this out. The writer doesn't inform us of that detail. And I wonder, for Elimelech, if, that saying, the grass is greener. I wonder if that was in his mindset. He looked at Moab and thought, they've got it made over there. And you know the saying, you've probably used it yourself. I often wonder how he sold this move to his wife Naomi. I wonder if he waited till the boys were in bed or sitting down having a cup of tea, and he just said, Naomi, no one's starving in Moab. Naomi, there's plenty of jobs in Moab. Naomi, see if we moved to Moab, we could get a bigger house and the boys could play out in the garden. What he's portraying is the grass is greener over there, Naomi, and we shouldn't be here. It's too hard here. There's too much fear here. Let's go, let's flee it, let's just get out. We'll be better and happier over in Moab. And what Elimelech is looking for here is a change of situation, a change of the external to help them combat the fear of their time, of the anxieties of their time, of the instability of their time. If things change out there, I will feel better in here. And we're not a stone's throw away from that ourselves. We often think, if I could get that promotion at work, things would be great. If I could only sleep with that person and me were in a relationship, my life would be sorted. If only I could have or get this, it would fulfill me. One example I hear around my community is from a few people saying, if I can get this house swap to Bewley or Kiltarlity, that'll help me get out of here. And, my life will be better. I'll find things easier. I might get peace. And again, this is the same kind of mindset as Elimelech. The grass is greener out there. We often think a situational change can really change us, can give us peace and joy. Now, the Bible has many stories throughout it where people have tried to change their situation, to try and get away so that they can feel better. And the Bible very often shows that it doesn't work. Why? Because we're carrying the same heart within us. The same issues, the same fears are within us. So a change of situation may help for a moment. A nice big TV or car may distract us for a time, but even then we want a bigger, nicer TV. A new boyfriend or girlfriend might help us in our loneliness, but they never really fulfill or complete us. Or for Elimelech, a move to Moab might take some pressure off them. But they're still the same people. The Bible teaches that we do not need a radical change of situation, but actually we need a radical change of heart. Because it's out of the heart flows our desires and our motive and our will. What I'm not saying here, just to be clear, is that we should all go and sign up to Rigmore for heart transplants tomorrow. What I'm saying is more in line with Psalm 51, a book in the Bible near the middle of your Bible. There's a psalm that says this: "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me." And this is key to that heart change, because what the psalmist is saying here is the problems aren't out there. They're actually in here. My heart needs cleaned. My fears, my anxieties, my worries all flow from here. My unhealthy desires, my addictions, all flow from here. So he's saying he needs a clean heart, a new heart. And the beauty here is the psalmist's eyes look to the one who can respond to that great need, right? He says, "O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me." He's bringing his cry to God, because God is the only one that can answer him. And it's fascinating, in our passage here today with Elimelech, we never get a sense of him calling out to God, which would have been the greatest thing he could do, because when we call to God, he answers us. When we bring our heart to him and say, "Clean me, renew me," the Lord God answers our heart cry by showing us his heart. And you may be thinking, "Oh, Chris, that sounds a bit wacky. How can God show us his heart?" Well, the answer is the age-old Sunday school answer: by showing us Jesus. Jesus' ministry and life was all about showing us the compassion of God to us broken people. Jesus came to seek the least, the last, and the lost, the hurt, the broken, those grieving in their communities, those overcome by fear. He often ate and engaged with those who had been socially outcast. Jesus entered this messy world out of a great act of love for his people, a great act of love to seek people like you and me. And God's love propelled Jesus to the cross. Now, don't get me wrong here. That doesn't mean it was easy. Like, Jesus is sitting on the cross and it's all rosy. It was agony, it was pain, it was hell on earth. But Jesus' love for us held him there, not the nails that were in his hands and his feet, but the promise that he was redeeming his people. That when Jesus was on the cross, he had me in mind. And that's a very encouraging thought, that his love can change me, because his love held him on the cross to take our sin upon him, our brokenness, all the junk in here that leads us to do the things that we don't want to do. Jesus is willing to take that from you on the cross, to deal with our biggest issue. This is redemptive love. This is renewing love. This is saving love. And this is transformational love. But it can only be found at the cross. There's no other source. There's no other way we can change our situation enough to impact the depths of our heart. Nothing measures up to this. A new house, a new partner, a new job, new career, nothing. Because Jesus cleanses, renews, and changes us. No matter our circumstance, no matter if you're sitting here listening to this thinking, Chris, you don't know what's happened to me. Yeah, I don't, but Jesus does. You may be thinking, Chris, you don't know what I've done. How can this be for me, this love? I don't even love me. Well, that's the point. Jesus went to the cross to die for us even when we were against him. His love is that amazing. And if we accept him as Lord and God, if we receive this love, that inward change affects our outward actions. That Jesus transforms our world. There's a writer called C.S. Lewis who probably is more popular now for the Narnia movies. And he wrote a book called The Weight of Glory. And he says this: "He who has God and everything else has no more than he who has God only." And what C.S. Lewis is touching on there is God's love is so overwhelming and overfilling that when we have that, everything out there pales. The grass is never greener because we look to Christ and we're fulfilled in him. Seeing Jesus and seeing the heart of God is transformational. It emboldens us, calms us. Our behaviors change not out of some sort of legalism where we say, I'm not going to eat that, and we put barriers in. But our behaviors change because our desires and motives change in line with our new hearts. And it's all rooted in Christ. So in this time of fear, in this time of anxiety, this time of where everything seems to be up in the air, are we going to be on lockdown for a couple of more weeks? What is actually happening? For the Christians, they find their peace, their hope, their security in Jesus, knowing that no matter how dark it gets, that can't be removed from us because it was never in our own hands to keep, because it's on the outstretched hands of Jesus Christ. It's a love that is imperishable, undefilable, unremovable from us or any situation around us. That gives the Christian hope and encouragement. But poor Elimelech chose never to call out to God. He chose to upend his family, take them to Moab. And then we're told that he passes away. Now, no doubt this would be a really painful blow for Naomi, but it wouldn't be uncommon for women to lose their husbands in that time period of the world in the ancient Near East. And Naomi's gaze would then shift to her sons. At least she had her boys, because family was everything at that time period. It was your retirement plan. Your sons would protect you. They would look after you into your old age. There was no such thing as a state care home. There was no such thing as a council house. So Naomi's future would be safe in our sons' hands. And if you didn't have family, you were in a very deeply vulnerable place within society, especially for Naomi, a foreign society. But after 10 years, we are told these boys marry, and unfortunately, they pass away as well. So now we're not just left with one widow, we're actually left with three: Naomi, Orpah, and Ruth, all in need, all very vulnerable and insecure. It's a really interesting way to introduce characters within a book, right? It's not sunshine and lollipops. There's great need here. It's not written in a time where there was a great ruler on a throne in a nation. There is this spiritual confusion and elements of fear. Socially, there's been a time of famine. And in Ruth and Naomi's life, there's been times of great pain and great loss. It reminds me of, that song by Ray Charles called Hard Times. Ray Charles is told by his mum when she passes away, don't forget to pray, son, because there'll be hard times. Naomi, Ruth, and Orpah are facing a hard time at the start of Ruth, and we are going to look through this series together and see how God responds to them with transformational love, with redemptive love. But we can't see it right now because this looks bleak. That's where we're just going to pause. We're going to stop here before we move on to the next section. And just a few questions for us to think about today. Again, use the comment section below if you want to reach out to us, and we'll try and respond to them. The first question I want to ask you guys is, do you think that true change is possible? Do you actually think true change is possible as a person? And do you think change can come on a deep and character level by changing behavior? So there are the two questions. If you want to take some time to think them over, listen to this video again, and you can respond in the comment section. If you live in the Merkinch and South Keswick area of Inverness, we would love to connect with you as a church. If you are in need of anything and want to reach out to us, please comment or send us an email. We'll have a website up and running soon that you can really get in contact with us quite quickly. But we hope you're enjoying this series. We hope it is a series that is bringing up challenges for us, helping us think through, helping us really to look to Jesus.